The police called me. 8 o'clock sharp. The man's voice shook, but his words cut like a knife. We're sorry. Your wife was killed in a car accident. We need you to come identify her, now. I froze. The phone slipped from my hand, hit the cold tile floor. My chest felt crushed. And then, I heard it. The faint sound of a spoon, tapping a cup. That familiar stir of tea. I turned. Through the crack of the kitchen door, steam curled up from a cup. Still hot. Her silhouette stood there, a thin sweater, her body leaning as she poured water into the cup. But the police had just told me she was dead. So who was in my kitchen? I stepped forward, each step heavy, like sinking into an abyss. Inside my coat pocket, the velvet box pressed against my chest, cold, heavy. The platinum ring I had planned to give her, to propose, to say I'm sorry, to start again after years of silence. Minutes ago, I had pictured her smile. Now those images shattered. My hand touched the kitchen doorframe. It shook. The door itself trembled. She turned, her eyes calm, as if nothing had happened. "You're home?" she asked. Her voice exactly the same. My throat locked. The officer's words echoed. "Your wife was pronounced dead less than an hour ago." I stumbled back, pressed against the wall. My head spun. My heart pounded. I wanted to scream, to ask who she was. But no sound came out. The ring in my pocket grew heavier. Each breath cut through me. I stared at the woman in front of me. She smiled, the same smile I once loved. But now, it froze my blood. If the police were right, then the woman standing there, the one looking at me with such tenderness, was not my wife. And one question tore through my mind. If she's truly dead, then who the hell is in my house? My name is Mark, 44, mechanical engineer. I live in a small town on the edge of the city, a place where everyone knows your face. But no one really pays attention. By day, I worked with machines. By night, I hid in the old garage behind my house. The smell of oil, the clatter of wrenches and bolts. That garage was my safe zone. In there, I controlled everything. Take it apart, put it back together, fix it. But marriage isn't like a machine. No blueprint, no manual. And because of that, I lost it without even noticing. Emily, my wife, the complete opposite of me. She was outgoing, warm. If I was a heavy engine, she was the breeze that lit up every room. I still remember college. Emily dragged me into a crowded cafe. I hid in the corner. She laughed. She talked to everyone. That difference, that fire, pulled me straight to her. We dated 4 years, then married. In the early days, I thought I was the luckiest man alive. I remember our first night in the tiny apartment we rented. We sat on the floor, ate pizza from the box, laughed like kids. She hugged me and said, "We'll get through everything together, right?" I held her tight. I believed nothing could break us. But I was wrong. 15 years later, that embrace was just a memory. Reality was colder. Work consumed me. Big projects kept me late, sometimes until midnight. At first, Emily waited. She cooked dinner, left a plate in the oven. But too many nights I came home too late. The food cold. I grabbed a beer, buried myself in the garage. After a while, she stopped waiting. I stopped looking for her eyes. Dinners disappeared. Conversations disappeared. We still lived under one roof. But we felt more like strangers renting the same space. One quiet night, while I was bent over the lawnmower, Emily asked softly, "Mark, do you still love me?" I froze. Looked up. Awkward. Then I muttered, "Don't ask childish questions." Her eyes went dark. She turned, walked into the bedroom, left me with a half-fixed engine and a hollow in my chest. That night, we slept back to back. And then, it became routine. Silence kills a marriage slower than betrayal ever could. I knew Emily was lonely. I saw it. Sometimes she sat at the table, staring off. Once I found a note hidden in a drawer. "Does life still mean anything?" I held it. My heart cracked. But instead of talking to her, I folded it, put it back, as if I'd never seen it. That night, I lay awake, Emily's steady breath beside me. Yet she felt farther away than an ocean. I asked myself, when was the last time I even dared to hold her hand? She didn't complain much. She just went quiet. That silence was worse than any fight. When a woman no longer wants to argue, something inside her is already gone. At 40, panic hit me. A coworker warned me, "Keep this up, one day she'll leave." I laughed it off. But I knew he was right. I started to notice. Emily went out more. Her phone always with her. Sometimes she came home late, without a word. I didn't ask. I was afraid of the answer. One night, I walked into the bedroom. She was crying in the dark. I stood at the door, wanted to go to her, but my feet wouldn't move. I turned and walked away. The next day, she acted like nothing happened, but inside me, something broke. I knew if I did nothing, I'd lose her forever. So I came up with something foolish. A ring. Not our old wedding ring. A new one. A promise. A way to say, I'm sorry I left you alone. Please, let's start again. I spent a week searching. Finally, I chose a simple platinum band. I remembered, years ago, Emily once stopped outside a jewelry shop. She stared at a ring just like it, smiled and said, "One day, I want that." I promised. But I never kept it. This time, I would. I kept the ring in my coat pocket. Every time I touched it, my heart raced. I had a plan. On our anniversary, I'd kneel, give her the ring, say the words I should have said long ago. I'm sorry I left you in the dark. Give us one more chance. I thought, maybe she'd forgive me. Maybe we'd cry. Maybe we could come back to life. But life didn't give me that chance. The night I was ready to do it, the phone rang. The voice of a cop. "We're sorry. Your wife was killed in a car accident." The words tore through me. I dropped to the ground. The ring slipped from my hand. Cold, heavy. And right then, I heard it. The sound of a spoon stirring tea in the kitchen. As if nothing had happened. I was ready to begin again. But life threw me into the abyss before I could speak. I had never felt my own house so foreign. Since the call from the police, since the words, "Emily has died in an accident," every sound, every light in that house sent shivers down my spine. That night, when I walked into the kitchen, Emily turned. She smiled. "Home already?" That smile, so familiar it stole the breath from my lungs. But minutes before, they swore she was dead. My voice trembled. I just got a call. They said, you had an accident, that you were gone." Emily raised an eyebrow, then gave a faint laugh. "What are you talking about? I'm right here." I tried to smile back, but cold sweat soaked my shirt. From that moment, I knew. Something was very, very wrong. That night, I lay beside her. The room was the same. The yellow lamp. The faint scent of her perfume. But it felt like I was sleeping next to a stranger. I turned my back. Clutched the ring in my coat pocket. The ring I meant to give her as an apology. But now, one thought echoed in my mind. If she's already dead, then who's lying beside me? The next morning, I called the police back. The officer confirmed. "Yes, we contacted you. The victim was Emily Parker, fatal accident, Highway South, identity matched with her papers." I froze. My heart cracked open. I wanted to scream, to tell him Emily was alive, that I'd just had breakfast with her. But no words came. I hung up, sat in the garage, numb, for hours. That evening, Emily cooked dinner, something she hadn't done in years. She placed a plate of vegetables in front of me. "You should eat more greens. You've gotten too thin." I froze. Emily had never said that. The real Emily used to tease me, said I ate like a wolf. I forced a smile, but my heart turned cold. When she bent to pick up a towel, I saw her wrist. Bare. No scar. The small scar from that bike accident when we were 20. Gone. I swallowed hard. "Your scar? It's gone?" She looked up. Her eyes flickered. Then she smiled softly. "You're mistaken. I never had a scar." Her words cut deeper than any knife. Days later, I found an envelope in the mailbox. Thick, stamped with the county seal. Inside, a death certificate. Emily Parker. Cause of death, accident. The date matched the night of the call. My hands shook. I sank onto the steps. The world spun. I shoved the paper into a desk drawer. And just then, Emily walked in, holding a basket of laundry. "What are you doing?" she asked, eyes sharp. Nothing, I stammered. She watched me, then smiled. That smile no longer gave me peace. It froze me to the bone. I decided to test her. The next night, I asked, "Do you remember the beach trip in 2008? I got sunburned. You laughed the whole time." Emily tilted her head. Calm. "No. That year we went to the mountains. You slipped down the slope. I remember it clearly." My blood ran cold. I knew it was the beach. I still had the photos. That night, I tore through the old albums in the garage. But the beach photos were gone. replaced by pictures of us in the mountains. Exactly as she said. My hands trembled. Could it be my memory that's wrong? That night I dreamed of the crash, shattered glass, the crumpled car, Emily's lifeless face behind the wheel. I jolted awake, drenched in sweat. Emily sat up beside me, staring. Bad dream, she whispered. I turned away, my heart racing. The next day, during breakfast, I asked, "Do you ever wonder, if one day you disappeared, what would happen to me?" Emily set her cup down, her eyes dark. "Mark, I already disappeared. You just don't see it." Her words haunted me. After that, I felt watched. Sometimes, from the window, I saw a figure on the street. One night, a strange car parked outside. On the dashboard, a file folder with Emily's name. I ran out. The car sped away. Someone knew. Maybe knew more than I did. One evening, while Emily was out, I searched her bag. Wallet, makeup, and then an ID card. Her photo. But the name, Sarah Miller? My chest tightened. If Emily Parker was dead, then who was Sarah Miller? And who the hell was living in my house? Emily came home suddenly. I shoved the card back. Her eyes narrowed. "Were you going through my things?" "No," I blurted. She smiled. But the smile was hollow. Empty. That night, I woke at 3 a.m. A weight pressed on me. The sense that someone was watching. I opened my eyes. My heart stopped. Emily stood right beside the bed, still, eyes wide open, staring at me. Moonlight washed over her pale face. Her thin smile. I couldn't breathe, couldn't move. And in the dark, she whispered, "I told you, Emily is dead. Why won't you believe me?" After that night, the night Emily stood frozen in the moonlight, staring at me, I never trusted my home again. The house that was once my shelter now felt like a maze. Every room hiding a twisted truth I hadn't uncovered yet. The next morning, Emily set a cup of coffee in front of me. I took a sip and froze. It was bland, almost no sugar. For 20 years, she knew I only drank black coffee with exactly 2 spoons of sugar. "Do you like it?" she asked, smiling. I forced a grin. "Yeah, it's fine." But inside, I knew the real Emily would never forget. A small slip. That felt like the deepest crack. That afternoon, I got a call. No ID. A man's voice, low, raspy. "Leave that house, Mark. The woman you're living with is not your wife." My throat closed. "Who are you? What do you know?" Silence. Then the line went dead. I stared at the dark screen, my chest tight with fear. That night, I logged into our joint account. My stomach dropped. The name Emily Parker had vanished, replaced with Sarah Miller. Recent transactions, withdrawals from cities I'd never been. My hands shook as I took a screenshot. Then I froze. Footsteps behind me. Emily stood there, her eyes sharp. "What are you doing?" I shut the laptop. "Just checking my paycheck." She placed a hand on my shoulder, a gesture once familiar. Now it sent ice down my spine. That evening, I couldn't hold it in anymore. I asked, "Who are you, really?" She set down her plate, dried her hands, looked straight at me. "What do you mean? You don't remember our memories. You don't have the scar. You even forgot how I drink my coffee. You're not Emily." The kitchen went silent. Emily stepped closer. Her breath brushed my ear. "Are you sure? You want to know the truth, Mark?" My body went numb. And I knew, whatever this was, it wasn't just a broken marriage. It was something far darker. Days later, I noticed her writing in the living room at night. When she slept, I opened the notebook. Page after page, the same words scrawled over and over. "Sarah, Sarah, Sarah." Hundreds of times. Shaky handwriting, like someone consumed by obsession. Then another page. "Emily is gone. Only Sarah remains." I dropped the notebook. Right then, Emily appeared behind me. "What are you doing?" she asked calmly. I was just looking for a pen," I stammered. She smiled, took the notebook, walked away. The lock clicked shut. That night, lying awake, one thought haunted me. Maybe I didn't lose Emily in the crash. Maybe I lost her long before, while she was still alive. One rainy night, a knock at the door. A pale woman, soaked, whispering, "You're Mark, right? I need to tell you about Emily." Before I could answer, Emily appeared behind me, her voice cold. "Who is that, Mark?" The woman flinched, then ran off into the storm. I tried to chase her, but Emily's grip clamped my wrist, so strong it hurt. "Never open the door to strangers, Mark. Do you understand? I nodded. But inside, I felt crushed by a weight I couldn't carry. That night, I sat in the garage. The oily mirror reflected my hollow face. And I thought, maybe the stranger isn't her. Maybe it's me. The man who slept through his marriage, clinging to a name, to a memory, while the truth had long since changed. At 3 a.m., I woke. A light spilled from the living room. I crept down the stairs. Emily sat with her back to me. In front of her, 2 rings. One was mine, the other engraved. Sarah and Daniel, she whispered. He doesn't know yet, but he will soon. My heart pounded like a hammer. And then, a man's deep voice answered from the empty room. Don't worry, my love. He'll have to accept it. I staggered back, almost fell. There was only me and Emily in that house. So whose voice was that? The man's voice in that empty room haunted me for days. I told no one. At work, my coworkers noticed. The weight loss, the dark circles. What's wrong? They asked. I forced a smile. Just can't sleep. But deep inside, I knew I was slipping past the edge of sanity. One night, while Emily was out shopping, I searched the closet. Between familiar dresses, I found a black box. Inside, a stack of documents, passports, licenses, all in the name, Sarah Miller. And in another envelope, photos, Emily, or Sarah, with a man I'd never seen. The 2 of them smiling, holding hands, like husband and wife. My body went numb. I sank to the floor. The last photo stopped my breath. A wedding band, the same second ring I'd once seen on the table, engraved Sarah and Daniel. Daniel, that was his name. I shoved everything into my coat. That night, I didn't sleep. I waited for Emily to return, my chest burning with questions, with fear, with pain I couldn't name. When she came back and set her bag down in the kitchen, I snapped. I threw the papers and photos onto the table. Explain this. Who are you? Sarah or Emily? Who is this man? And why did the police say you were dead? The room went silent. Emily looked at the papers, then at me. Her eyes, cold, unflinching. She sat, exhaled. So, you finally figured it out. My heart slammed. Tell me. She, Sarah, smirked. You never really knew me, Mark. Even under the same roof, you never looked at me closely. I always had 2 lives, one for you and one for Daniel. I trembled. My hands shook uncontrollably. She told me she had been with Daniel for years. With him, she was Sarah Miller, her real name. With me, she wore the mask of Emily Parker, the obedient wife I thought was mine. Her voice was steady, flat. When I was with you, I was Emily. With Daniel, I was Sarah. And both of you believed. You had all of me. I couldn't breathe. Every detail. The missing memories. The false documents. The police call. All of it fit into a nightmare I could no longer deny. And the accident? I whispered. The police said Emily Parker was dead. Sarah looked right into my eyes. Yes, the accident killed Emily Parker. The mask I wore to live with you. From that moment on, only Sarah Miller remained. The woman you never truly knew. Her words cut through me like a blade. I collapsed into a chair, buried my head in my hands. Flashes of memory tore through me. Cold dinners. Her distant eyes. That night she asked, "Do you still love me?" All of it. A cry for help I ignored. I whispered, my voice breaking. Why? Why didn't you just tell me? Sarah tilted her head. Her eyes wet, but her tone still calm. Because even if I screamed, you wouldn't have heard me. You were too busy. With the garage. With your work. With your world. I was lonely. Daniel listened. So I split myself in 2. Half for you. Half for him. Until one half finally died. And I cried. Not just from betrayal, but from the truth. I realized I had never truly touched the woman beside me. I had loved a name. A mask. Not the person underneath. The air grew heavy. Unbearable. I wanted to scream. To break something. But I just sat. Tears falling. Sarah stepped closer. Placed a hand on my shoulder. You have 2 choices, Mark. Accept Sarah, and we go on. Or accept that Emily is dead. And we end it here. I lifted my head. Stared into eyes that once felt like home. Now strangers. And one question echoed inside me. Who do I love? Emily, the dead woman? Or Sarah, the betrayer, but the truth? I didn't answer. I couldn't. I only gripped the ring in my pocket. The ring I once planned to use to fix us. Now it weighed on me like a stone. And I thought, the moment she said Emily was dead was the moment my heart died too. But this truth, I have no choice but to face it, even if it destroys me. I sank into the chair, head in my hands. In front of me, the woman who once meant everything, now just a stranger. The kitchen was the same, the faint smell of coffee still in the air, but my heart was shattered. The ring in my coat pocket pressed against my chest, cold, heavy, no longer a promise, just proof that I was too late. We stared at each other, no words, only silence, stretched tight like a wire. The clock ticked, each second cutting into my skin. Finally, I broke the silence. What about Daniel? What did he give you that I didn't? Sarah didn't flinch, her eyes steady, her voice calm, sharp as glass. He listened. He looked at me when I spoke. He asked about the little things. You let the garage, the work, and the silence swallow everything. To you, I was just background noise. Her words slammed into me, a fist straight to the heart. I pounded the table, shouted for the first time in years. What about the 15 years we shared? Was it all a lie, Sarah? Tears welled in her eyes, but her voice stayed hard. No, it was real, but it was painful. Do you know what it's like to lie next to the man you love and feel like you're sleeping with emptiness? She grabbed the ring engraved Sarah and Daniel, then hurled it to the floor. The sound rang sharp, metal spinning across the tile. I froze, anger burning, but so did despair. For the first time in years, we both exploded, but that fire didn't heal us. It only burned down the ashes that were left. I stared at her tears, then at the ring on the floor, and one question clawed at me. Who killed this marriage? I wanted to blame her, but the truth was clear. I was guilty too. I once thought betrayal was the knife. But no, it was my silence. My silence was the poison. I let my wife die slowly in my neglect, long before she fell into someone else's arms. The thought shook me, like I had dug the grave myself. We sat side by side, broken, too tired to fight anymore. Her tears still streaked her face. My own fell freely. I still want to try, I whispered. Emily or Sarah, I still want to start again. She shook her head, eyes cloudy, exhausted. I waited for those words 10 years ago, but you never said them. Now it's too late. I'm not Emily anymore, and Sarah isn't whole enough to love you. Her words were final, like a sentence. Days later, I came home. Sarah stood in the living room, a suitcase at her side. She wore a long gray coat, her face pale in the yellow light. I froze at the door, my heart pounding. You're really leaving? I whispered. She nodded, eyes wet. Don't look for me, Mark. Pretend Emily is dead. I stepped forward, reached out, but my hand stopped midair. There was nothing left to hold. She turned, opened the door. The cold night wind rushed in. The door shut softly, but it sounded like a grave closing. I stood frozen in the empty house. Only the ring, Sarah and Daniel, lying on the floor. That night, I sat alone in the garage, the ring I had meant to give her in my hand, and I whispered, love doesn't die in a car crash. It dies in silent dinners, in unanswered questions, in the embraces I never gave. And when I realized it, it was already too late. I placed the ring back in its box, closed it, and for the first time in years, I turned off the garage light, stepped outside. The night was dark, but at least I knew, from now on, I'd have to learn to walk forward, alone. The house was silent, so silent that every step I took echoed like a knock in the void. After Sarah left, the emptiness wasn't just in the rooms. It hollowed me out from the inside. I walked past the bedroom. The pillow beside mine was still sunken, holding the shape of someone who wasn't there anymore. I touched it, cold. The pain wasn't because she was gone. It was because I had lost her long before, even while we still held hands. The first morning, I made my own coffee. My hands shook. It tasted bitter, empty, not because it lacked sugar, but because no one sat across from me to ask, do you like it? I learned to eat dinner alone, to wash my own clothes, to clean up after myself. Every small chore whispered the same truth. Happiness was once here, and I let it slip away piece by piece until nothing was left. The garage, once my refuge, now felt like a graveyard. The smell of oil, the dust on the machines. I realized this was where I buried all the hours I should have given my wife. I switched off the light, let the garage sink into darkness. For the first time in years, I admitted it. Silence isn't peace. Silence is the pit that swallowed my marriage whole. One afternoon at the store, I caught a glimpse, a figure at the end of the aisle. She looked like Sarah. I ran, heart racing. But when I reached her, just a stranger, I stood frozen among the shelves, my hands trembling. The wound was still there, still open. Friends asked, "How's Emily these days?" I smiled. "She's fine." The lie slid off my tongue easily, not to deceive them, but to shield myself, to guard the memory, even if it was cracked and broken. At night, memories replayed. Cold dinners. Her eyes when she asked, "Do you still love me?" The sighs I ignored. And I wondered, if that night I had put the wrench down, walked over, and just held her tight, would it have changed anything? I once thought betrayal killed marriage. But now I know it was silence. My silence was the poison. Sarah was only the symptom of a love that had already died. One evening, I opened the old drawer in the garage, the one where I had once found her note. Does life still mean anything? I thought it was gone forever. But there it was, wrinkled, faded, still legible. I held the note, hands shaking. All those years, I ignored her cry for help. Now it lay in my hands. A final proof. Proof that love doesn't vanish in a single moment. It dies slowly, with neglect, with silence. I placed the note into the velvet box, the one holding the ring I never gave. I closed the lid, closed a chapter. That night, I stepped into the yard, looked up at the sky. For the first time in years, I saw the stars, and I whispered, "Maybe the last embrace wasn't the night you left, but the night I didn't notice you crying beside me." The night wind stung my skin, cold, but it woke me. I turned back toward the house. One chapter ended. Another began. I didn't know its name yet, but I knew this. Love must be spoken before it's too late.